Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. If your Samsung refrigerator suddenly stopped making ice, or worse, you're seeing that dreaded frost buildup freezing the ice bucket in place, don't panic. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 most common causes and show you exactly how to diagnose and fix each one. Good news is, most of these problems are totally DIY friendly, and you can save yourself a few $100 over calling someone like me out. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. Now, here's what's actually happening behind the scenes, and this might surprise you. Most people think the ice maker unit itself is toast, or maybe the water filter's just clogged. But here's the real deal. If you've got one of those Samsung French door models with the ice maker in the fridge section, what they call the ice room, the problem is almost always warm air getting where it shouldn't be. This creates a frost nightmare that jams everything up. Here's how problems develop. First, warm air sneaks in where it shouldn't. That creates frost and ice buildup. Finally, all that ice jams up the moving parts. We need to figure out which stage your ice maker is stuck in. Real world breakdown, frost and moisture issues are the big one, probably 60% of what I see. Frozen water lines come next. Then we've got valve problems, user settings, and actual ice maker failures bringing up the rear. So we're going to diagnose in probability order, not just throw parts at it. All right, so the number one culprit, and I see this constantly on those French door models, is what I call the ice beard problem. Here's what's happening. Warm, humid air is sneaking into that ice compartment and creating a frost disaster. Here's how to identify this problem. First, pull out your ice bucket. If you see icicles hanging underneath, or if the bucket won't budge because it's frozen in place, you've found your culprit. Don't force it. We'll show you the safe way to free it up. I had this customer last month. She's yanking on that bucket so hard she nearly cracked it. Don't do that. If it's stuck, it needs to be steamed out. Now, here's the thing about this problem. It's actually a design flaw. That ice room is trying to stay at 0 degrees while it's surrounded by 37-degree air. Over time, those factory seals just give up. You'll hear a buzzing or grinding noise before it completely dies. That's the fan hitting ice buildup. The fix isn't just defrosting it, you need the full service kit treatment. Steam that compartment clean. And I mean steam, not a heat gun. Heat guns will warp that plastic liner and then you're done. You'll need food grade RTV silicone to seal those corner gaps, plus updated drain tubes and Y clips. Sometimes you need a control board update too, depending on your model year. This one's definitely a moderate difficulty repair, but you can save yourself $200, $300 over calling a pro if you're comfortable with it. Another common issue, and this one's sneaky, is that little water fill tube freezing shut. Here's how you'll know. Press that test button on your ice maker. The motor turns, everything sounds normal, but zero water comes out at the end of the cycle. I remember this guy who called me convinced his water valve was dead. Turned out it was just a frozen tube, $0 fix instead of an $80 part. Usually happens when your freezer's running too cold or you've got low water pressure causing just a trickle that freezes up. Sometimes it's related to that moisture problem I just talked about. The fix is pretty straightforward. Steam it or use warm water to thaw that line. Just be gentle with it. If you've got the service kit, some of those come with heated fill tube sleeves to prevent this from happening again. Way easier fix than most people think. Now let's talk about actual valve failure. This is your solenoid valve at the back of the fridge that controls water flow. Here's the telltale sign. Your ice cubes start getting smaller and smaller, maybe hollow before production stops completely. You might hear a buzzing sound. That's the solenoid trying to open, but failing. I've seen this a lot in areas with hard water. Minerals just build up and kill these things. The valve itself runs about $50.90, and it's a pretty easy swap if you can get to the back of your fridge. Just need basic tools and about 30 minutes. The tricky part is not confusing this with a clogged filter. Symptoms look identical. Here's the test. If changing your filter doesn't fix small cubes, it's probably the valve. This one's going to make you laugh or cry, depending on how much troubleshooting you've already done. Sometimes the ice maker is perfectly fine, it's just turned off. Samsung's ice off button is incredibly confusing. Here's the key. If you see the ice off light glowing on your display, that means ice production is turned off. Press that button once to turn the light off, which turns ice making back on. I know it's backwards from what you'd expect. Child lock does the same thing. The other biggie here is water pressure. If your filter's clogged, you won't get the 20 psi you need for proper operation. Here's the test. Dispense water into a cup. If it takes more than 10 seconds to fill 6 ounces, you need a new filter. These are always DIY fixes. Don't let anyone charge you for this stuff. Finally, we get to actual mechanical failure, and honestly, this is way less common than people think. Maybe 5% of the problems I see. If you press that test button and absolutely nothing happens, no chime, no movement, then yeah, you might have a dead ice maker assembly. Could also be the auger motor that dispenses the ice, especially if ice gets made but won't come out. I had this lady whose auger motor was making this screech owl noise. Turned out the fan was completely iced up. The optical sensor can get corroded too, especially from all that moisture we talked about earlier. These assemblies run $100, 180, and they're moderately tricky to replace. You're dealing with wire harnesses and getting the alignment right. But here's the key thing. Don't replace the ice maker if you haven't fixed that moisture infiltration problem. The new one will just freeze up like the old one. The water inlet valve is going to run you about $50.90, and it's actually one of the easier swaps. You can see the common part numbers displayed here for different model families. Basic tools, maybe 30 minutes if you can move your fridge away from the wall. The biggest thing is making sure you've got the right voltage going to it before you replace it. Don't want to fry a new valve with a bad control board. If you actually need a new ice maker assembly, and remember, troubleshoot that moisture problem first, you're looking at $100, 250 depending on your model. The part numbers shown on screen will help you identify what you need. Moderate difficulty because you're dealing with wire harnesses and getting the waterline connections right, but it's definitely doable for most DIYers. Here's some good news. If it's just a frozen fill tube, the fix might cost you nothing. Just thaw it out carefully. Some service kits include heated fill tube sleeves for about $20, 30 to prevent refreezing. Super easy installation if you can access the tube. All right, if you're dealing with faulty parts after working through those troubleshooting steps, let's talk about what you're looking at cost-wise and difficulty-wise. The good news is most of these parts aren't crazy expensive. It's the labor that gets you if you call someone like me. But if you're willing to roll up your sleeves, you can definitely save some serious money. Now, before we wrap up, you can see on the screen right now the most common Samsung models that deal with these ice maker issues. If you spot your model up there, you're definitely not alone. The French door models with that ice room design are the biggest headache. There's actually been class action stuff over the frost buildup problem. The side-by-side models tend to have wire harness issues, and those bespoke models with dual ice makers have their own quirks with the control logic. That's how you tackle Samsung ice maker problems. Remember the pattern here. Moisture intrusion isn't just bad luck, it's a design weakness on these ice room models. The same failure families show up across lots of appliances whenever you try to maintain freezing temps in a refrigerated space. Here's your action plan. First, check that ice off button and replace your water filter if it's old. Next, press the test button and listen for sounds. Then inspect for frost buildup in the ice compartment. Finally, if none of those solve it, we move to mechanical parts. Work through these steps in order. Don't skip ahead to buying parts. Most importantly, if you see that ice beard frost, don't just defrost it, seal it up properly, or it'll be back in a few weeks. And whatever you do, use a steamer, not a heat gun. If this helped you get your Samsung fridge making ice again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.